All right, we are live. What's up, guys?
What's up, man? How are you?
What's up? What's up? I'm good. I'm good. I am in beautiful New Jersey still with my pup alongside me. How are you?
I'm good, man. And you got another one with you
We
now
got
too, right? Brought another one into the gang.
we got another one in the gang. He's sleeping slash crying slash pooping slash peeing right now all at once. And yeah, I have around 90 minutes for him to be asleep.
Right,
But yeah, it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute since we linked up.
for sure.
Wanted to get on here. What are we talking about today?
Well, listen, man. I mean, congratulations to you and your beautiful wife on having a baby boy. But what we're getting into today is kind of since we've last been on, a lot of stuff has changed, right? I mean, in the last few weeks, with interest rates rising, kind of what's going on with the market. A lot of people are panicking. A lot of people are getting scared, and we're just chilling, doing the same thing we've been doing, right? So let's get into that a little bit and just talk about kind of the what people will expect these next couple months. And maybe we don't know how long it will last, right? But definitely everyone's in the real estate communities kind of getting ready to brace maybe this downturn that's been inevitable after like the crazy uphill that we just went on. So let's talk about that a little bit and kind of give some strategies on what people are doing and how we're preparing for it and why we're not too worried about it.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Yeah. So,
Sounds
like, Melvin, talk a little bit about, with interest rates rising, money becoming more expensive. You hear a lot of people saying that they're slowing down on like fix and flips, right? They're slowing down on these really big projects. So for people who like wouldn't understand that, like why would someone slow down on like these big projects that cost a lot of money that take time? Why would someone who's done that for so long and been so successful making so much money want to stop doing that?
So well, I guess my thought process when I break it down is just thinking about who's buying the house, right? So over since COVID, the past couple of years, we've seen an insane boom of just everyone buying houses, and that's because the one simple factor, which is like the interest rate, right? The interest rate was low. People wanted to move into houses, yes, get more space, but at the same time, the ability to borrow this money and get a loan was a lot easier. So right now, what's been happening with all the inflation that's going on, the Fed really has one tool in a tool belt, at least like a kind of like a common sense tool, which is raising this interest rate, which then in turn makes it more difficult for the average person to get a loan or borrow money.
Right.
Okay. If that's the case, then the houses that you're seeing that are being sold on the market or on sale, it's going to be harder to get loans and borrow this money to buy these houses, right? So you're going to see a lot of people not like I mean, it's a controversial debate, right, in terms of supply demand and like the inventory of the market. But from what I see, I truly do think that it is going to slow down. And I think a lot of investors are thinking that too, where it's everyone is a little bit skeptical. And what that means for us, right? I'm majority wholesaler. So I will wholesale a lot of my deals. Yes, I'll keep the deals that I really like that are cash flowing heavily. But my day to day is finding properties that are distressed, finding properties that we're putting a lot of work into and then selling it on the market, right? And I am essentially giving the I'm finding this house, putting it under contract, and then going to one of my friends who's a fix and flipper and saying, "Hey, do you want this house?"
Right.
With everything that's been going on, since everyone's a little bit more conservative, a little bit more skeptical, what I'm noticing on my end is that I have to do the same thing, right? I have to also adjust my prices. We're still buying properties, we're still doing these things,
Yeah.
but we just need to kind of take into account for okay, Some other people are a little bit skeptical. So let me make sure that the deal that I've landed or that I'm negotiating really does fit the price of what we're looking for and what they're looking for.
Right. So we got a couple points there, but just on that last point, it's like everything that you're doing now needs to be a little bit more sexy,
Yeah.
right? It's like every deal that you're working on that 6 months ago you could have sold in 2 days, right? You're now like, is this a deal or not? You know, and the big thing is there is like when you're talking about it's all about leverage, right? When you have a company or if it's just you, right? How much of your money are you willing to leverage? And when money is really expensive to borrow right now, if you're taking out hard money on a fix and flip on a big project, right, that might take 5 6 months. I mean, we saw the change. I think this is where it causes a lot of fear in people, right? When you're doing these big projects, because Melvin, like if you looked 6 months ago, you can keep a house on the market, and if you look now, houses are staying on the market, right? Like things aren't, I saw Patrick Bet David was talking about like luxury items, right? And like how 6 months ago you couldn't buy a brand new Lamborghini, right? There was like never, he's like over the last 24 months, there was never more than 3 new Lamborghinis on the market, right? Across America. 3. He said, as of this was like 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, there was over 64.
Dang.
That's crazy, man. And
Yeah.
that shows you, okay, who's buying Lamborghinis? You have to have a lot of money, right? So what are the rich people doing? Right? You always want to follow, like, what are the rich people doing? What are the rich people doing? And then you start thinking about, okay, what does this mean? Like borrowing money is a lot more expensive. So why am I going to go leverage this? Because who knows 6 months from now where we're at, right? We could have gone into a full crash. So if I was leveraging $150,000 on a fix and flip, I might be, that could ruin my whole entire business for a
Yeah.
lot of people, right? For a lot of people, you might have to go bankrupt. Who knows? You might have to foreclose on your own house to try and pay back this money. Right. So it causes a lot of problems. So definitely we've seen in the last, especially in the last few weeks, people becoming a lot more conservative with what they're doing. So you said that you were talking to people and people that, you usually sell houses to and stuff like that. So have they came back to you, Melvin? They're like, hey, I know my buy box was 70%, but we really need it at like 60%. Have you seen that? Like, I
Yeah.
know people are talking about it, and those guys on Wholesale Hotline were talking about it too. Like everyone is dropping their prices a little bit on what they're willing to put out there. And like we're just talking about with the whole leverage thing. But just
Yeah.
on your end, first-hand experience, like what's going on?
I've seen it impact just two of my recent deals that have already been in contract just this past month already, right? So
Yeah,
one of them was a wholesale where I just locked it up too high, and going back on it just with the margins and with the renovations and everything that needs to be get done, it's just buyers coming back saying, hey, this is too high, like this is normally I'll buy something like this, but it just needs to be lower,
yeah,
right? And then even on a not on a wholesaling front, but when I was lending, we me and my partner, we lent money on a fix and flip, and just like you said, this is a guy who does 15 fix and flips a month. But when you're going at that level, at least that's a big level for me, right? If
yeah,
I'm doing 15 fix and flips per month, and a market turns like this, sometimes you over leverage yourself, and that's when it gets a little bit scary. And it is impacting us here because we're supposed to get this money back, and
right,
now we've negotiated something where we're letting them borrow the money for a longer period of time, and we're making more interest on it. But it's just like it's just a domino effect, right? So
yeah,
it's just so many things that are being affected at once. And it's funny because the biggest reason is fear. Yes, the things are going on with the market in terms of like the Fed actually making these adjustments because I feel like they need to. But at the same time, nobody really knows what's going to happen, right? In a year, 2 years, 6 months. I think if we had a crystal ball, it would be a lot easier to make money in this game. But the beautiful part is that we just have to adapt, right? We're all
right,
adapting, whether that means lowering. the sales price that you're locking up this deal for, or you're just maybe shifting strategies. There's so many different ways to adapt, and the best competitors and the best businesses are always going to adapt and find a way to
That's it.
grow from this change, right?
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, Linder, because I feel like this is one of your strengths too. Is you've always been someone who has the mindset of like, okay, if this isn't working, I'm going to adapt, or this might be seen as fear for a lot of people, but this is like truly an opportunity or a launch pad for myself.
Right.
So what are your thoughts over these next couple of months?
Well, listen, man, there's that saying that the most millionaires in America are made during a recession, right? And it's like, okay, well, you go back to history, right? I always try to go back to like something like this has happened before, right? Like something in like history always repeats itself, right? So just trying to go back and figuring out, okay, what are the people with a lot of money? What are they doing? I always try to level up, right? So seeing what, the top people in this game are doing, I'm like, I'm not going to go ahead and do anything crazy, right? I don't have the funds to go do that stuff, but I just try to break it down. Like, okay, if we need to buy things at lower price, we're going to adapt our buy box and we're going to start buying things at a lower price, right? If people are trying to take a little bit of a step off of short-term rentals and be more prepared for long-term rentals, then that's what I'm going to do, you know? And it's just being focused and, being confident with the people that you have around you in your business that will help like catapult you to the next level. But I think this is a huge opportunity for anybody in the business right now. Like you can't be scared, right? That's the biggest thing. You have to take action. And that's the one of the, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were just saying how don't freeze during this time. You have to keep moving forward, right? Find a way that works. Like people still need to move into houses. People still are going to have to rent houses. Like we're not saying like, okay, just because people go into a recession doesn't mean people are going to stop living in houses, right? That's still going to be a thing. So it's not like our whole business is going out of business. It's just like, okay, figuring out what we're going to do. And I see so many people stepping away from big time fix and flips. So I'm not, if I find something like that, I'm going to wholesale. I'm not even going to work on getting a crew to go do a fix and flip.
Yeah.
Because if that's what the guys who have made hundreds of millions of dollars are doing, I'm not smarter than them. I'm not trying to be smarter than them. Right? So let me just follow there's a game plan out here, right? People have come before us. We're not new, like we're not the first ones to do this. There's a
Yeah.
blueprint. So let's take that blueprint and just keep moving forward. But the same thing is just like keep taking action, right? Stay on the phone, stay working. Just know in the back of your head, okay, you're not going to be able to sell this as easy you were able to sell this 6 months ago. So let's get this price a little bit lower, right? There's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity, man. You said like you talk about wholesaling and distressed properties. The sad news too is like people are going to be losing their jobs. People already are losing their jobs, right? We already are in a recession. So people keep losing their jobs. People are going to have to stop making payments. People are going to start foreclosing on their houses. Houses are going to go up for sale. There's going to be a crazy amount of opportunity to make a lot of money. And the people who make the most out of this, that's what's going to catapult people forward into that, generational wealth and stuff like that. So that's just what I'm planning to do, man.
Yeah. Honestly, it like you are 1000% right. I think that a lot of people and including myself at times, you will that you'll be thinking that, okay, this is going on, that means that I can't do this, that means that I need to wait until this time for me to actually pour my time, money, attention into these factors. But realistically, you can't freeze, you can't stop just because of what may or may not happen. It's just you have to keep trusting your abilities and your strengths, that you're going to um, not over leverage yourself and still make money in this market. Um, that leads us to our next point, which I feel like we're coming into this at a great time. And when there is a lot of fear, a lot of people will see the opportunity. And if you're completely new to the game, or you don't really know, okay, you're like, okay, so cool. I understand that there's a lot of fear in the market. Now what do I do? I feel like we're at a great time where, all these interest rates are higher. Yes, it's going to be harder for the average person who's putting conventional, who's putting 20% down conventional loan to buy a house.
Yeah.
So that leaves more room for people who know the game with creative finance, with seller finance, with subject to, with how to structure deals creatively, right? So
So important.
so important, and that's why I'm thankful, because it's like every day it, I'm learning more. I'm surrounding myself with people like Andrew or anyone on my team who is pushing themselves to know more about the market, how to negotiate, how to structure something where it is a win-win situation for who you're speaking to and the situation that you're in, right? So I guess let's talk about that, man. Like, what are your thoughts with all that?
Keep doing what you're doing, right? Like kind of what I was just saying is like you got to keep taking action. You have to make adjustments, right? Like bring it back to sports. If you're running man to man, you're playing basketball and you're just getting beat. You got one guy on your team who's getting beat. You got to switch, or that guy's just going to keep scoring, right? That might have worked for all your games leading up to it, but if we're in the championship game right now, and you can't guard the best player and he keeps scoring, you guys have to make an adjustment if you plan on winning, right? You have to make adjustments. Something could have worked for 81 games, but on the 82nd game, it's not working. You can't just keep doing what you were doing, right? You have to make some small adjustments to allow you to win the game. And that's just what we're in, right? In this game of real estate, things can work for a long period of time, but ultimately things are constantly going to change, right? You're going to have different like matchups in basketball. You're going to have different things that come up in the market that you have to adjust to, right? So, I mean, creative finance is just incredible, right? And it'll allow people to get in and not have to worry about these crazy interest rates. But even on like the other side of that is like, think about it. If you have a ton of rentals, if you have a ton of rentals, Melvin, and these interest rates are going up, they're going up, and you talked about it earlier, like people not being able to buy houses now. What do you think that's going to do for you? I mean, you're going to have people out the line trying to move into one of your properties.
Yeah.
So if I could do anything, I would just say, okay, how many rentals can I get at a low interest rate? Right? How many rentals can I get in my portfolio to where I can go ahead and be able to rent these out? Because people always will have to rent, right? There's going to be people who can't afford to buy a house. And if you couldn't afford a house 6 months ago, you're definitely not going to be able to afford a house 6 months from now.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, right? Like the interest rates are insane. They're already over 5%. That's if you have great credit, right? 6 months from now, like we could be looking at 10% interest rates.
It's like great, and that's what. So being proactive with it, right? That's what I think me and my team are looking to do is find these properties with that low interest rate now, and then take over that loan. Right? Obviously, it has to fit the homeowner. If it's something where every situation is different, we want to make sure that we're helping them and we're providing the best solutions. But the only way that we can provide the best solution is being a master, knowing every single angle that you can hit them with, and knowing ultimately what the answer is to their problem. And sometimes what that is literally, again, paying them monthly payments, taking over their loan, maybe giving them some money up front, right, as a down payment, having them leave the situation entirely, fixing up the place a little bit. But that's really what my team is focused on. Has
Yeah.
been, it pre foreclosures is it's just it's in my opinion the best way to help someone, and at the same time capitalize on an opportunity that we have in front of us, right? Because we spoke about this in a previous video, which was the increase in foreclosures we're about to see,
Yeah.
right? So with all of these foreclosures, what we're noticing is, yes, they're behind in their payments, they have money in arrears, but when we're speaking to them and we're getting their loan documents and we're getting their mortgage payments, we're seeing the interest rate is like, if it's 3%, we're like, awesome, we can help this person get out of a very stressful situation and then also take over their loan, which
Yeah,
is way lower than what the bank has now, right?
exactly, man.
Like,
Exactly. It's a win-win.
it's a win-win. And if we don't rent it out, right, you can create your own loan and sell it on what we call sell it on a wrap, right? I know a lot of people know what that is, but if you don't, sell it on a wrap where you're finding someone else who might not necessarily be able to go to a bank, or you are putting the bank rates and selling to someone else, and you are the,
Right.
and you're gaining that spread, right? So there's so many different ways where, don't, it's not about getting overwhelmed. It's kind of just like, it's funny how we always go back to the same thing, picking a strategy, yes, adapting, but just seeing what's going to work for you in a time like this. And then we're just going every single day consistently. There's going to be great days and there's going to be okay days, but just making sure that we're always moving, always making sure we're making progress, at least, and staying consistent.
That's it, bro. And
Yeah.
and that's a huge point, man. I mean, when you're getting into being creative and find ways for the market to work for you, right? Whether your exit strategy is like what we talked about, where it's a buy and hold where you turn it into a rental, or if it's a fix and flip, or if you wrap it, or you do it, you wholesale it, or you do whatever you want to do, right? There's a ton of different ways to go about it. It's just adjusting, right? That's the biggest thing. Okay, the Fed's gonna adjust the rates, we're gonna adjust what we do. That I think that's the biggest, that's the key word to this whole thing. When you're going through real estate, you have to learn how to adjust and adapt. Don't stay doing the whole status quo thing because you're going to get left behind. Things are constantly changing, and that's in everything. That's in life. That's not just in real estate. That's in life. That's in sports. That's in whatever you're doing, your relationship, whatever it is. You have to adjust. You have to adapt. You can't just stay the same, right? Keep putting yourself in these situations to make yourself better, right? And get yourself in a bigger room. So if I could give any like recommendations
Yeah.
here, I would just say, start talking to more people who are in the game. Get more friends that are doing it, that have been doing it, that are already successful, and that continue to plan on being successful. Talk to people who are taking action, and then take action yourself, right? No matter what you're doing, make sure you're doing something, but you want to be doing the right things, right? You want to be doing the right things. So, if you have a mentor, awesome, right? Keep following down that path. And that would be my biggest thing. And then don't get scared of this whole thing, right? Like I said before, the most millionaires in America are made during the recession. Put that on the wall and just look at it and say, okay, how am I going to be one of these people who become a millionaire during times when people are struggling? You know? So if I could give any advice, that would be it for this whole entire episode. But that's what I have.
Yeah. And I want to go in on that because my advice is the same in terms of just like the urgency that you have in a time like this, because I know we all get stuck in the day to day in our W-2s or just in general. And it seems like, okay, like this is another day. This is another day. I'm doing the same thing today. I'm working hard. I'm doing the same thing. But when you take a couple of steps back and you zoom out and you see the bigger picture, you realize like, okay, what I did in that 6-month period was exponential to the impact of my business, my relationships, those around me, because of the opportunity that I had in those days, because of the market that we're in, right? Obviously, there's so many other things as well, but realistically, I don't want to look back a year from now and be like, wow, those interest rates were at 5.5, 6.5%. I thought they were high back then.
Yeah.
Why did I not buy more? Why did I not do more? Why did I not take more action? Because I was scared, or because of so and so. So my main goal is just making sure that every single minute is accounted for. And then just like I think one of the strongest points that you said was just proximity. Um, Getting in the right rooms is so big because like me and Linda, we're both somewhat new at this, right? Like we're very new. Like so we are getting in the rooms with the people to hear the high level people, to hear what they're saying, hear what their moves are, and then also just the book I'm reading right now. I don't know if I have. Oh, I have it right here. Linda, I feel like you read this book. I feel like everyone's read
Yeah.
this book already.
Yeah.
Ed Milet, Power of One More. He speaks about it all the time, right?
It's
And the
crazy.
final thing that I'm going to say is just like you know, proximity is power, proximity is everything. Those who you surround yourself with, it's funny how these conversations, like we're having these conversations every single day,
Yeah.
right? So it's always in the back of our mind, and that to me helps with the first point that I spoke about, which is urgency, which is like, okay, like we have a great opportunity in front of us. Let's make sure that we're taking advantage of it. Let's make sure we're holding our friends, our the people that we value. We hold them accountable. Accountability is the biggest form of love, in my opinion, right? So if you
Right.
are that person for your relationships, for your loved ones, for your friends, give them a call. Ask them what's going on. See what
Yeah,
they're doing, not just with the market, but with everything, right?
for sure.
So I'm super thankful because I feel like Linder is always hitting me up. He's always doing that to me, and I just want to return the favor. But that's really my take on everything, man.
No, I love it, man. I think this was good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be fun, man, to just keep checking back in on this video and just looking back and like, damn, seeing how crazy things have
yeah,
gotten over the next few months. It's gonna be fun, man. But like Melvin just said, keep taking action, keep moving forward. Don't get left behind. But that's all I got. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. And Melvin, it's always a pleasure, bro.
later, man.